Hello, everyone. It's just me today. Me and my little self and my guides. My guides are here. But I'm here to answer your questions today, your spiritual questions. And you can, if you want to put in, a personal spiritual question, like if you have a ghost in your house or something like that. And I'll try to frame it in a way that kind of helps everyone or gives everybody information that is useful. So whatever you're thinking about or whatever's on your weighing on you or on your mind, please, put it in the chat and I'll do my best. I feel like I've gotten better at and that's the thing, right? When you do this, work, when you move into developing and working on your abilities, you get better at it. It's like any other thing that you work on. And I feel like I've gotten better at, I have more of a dictionary, to work with my guides. I will get the same things over and over again. And that, that I can interpret that pretty quickly. I just like you'd have a best friend where you kind of know where they're going, or you have shared experiences, or them so well. That's the same kind of relationship you build with either your family member on the other side or your guides. You build it. It takes time. And I appreciate anyone that wants to jump in and do some moderating. This is kind of a free-flowing show. It's a little bit different, but I appreciate it if you guys want to jump in. And if you're not a moderator and you want to be, let me know. Happy to do that. But whoever wants to jump in, I'm always so appreciative of these rock star moderators that just jump in and keep our space safe. And we, I have to say, we do not have, knock on wood, we don't have many problems with trolls, not like some other channels. And I'm not saying it's their fault in any way, but I just feel very lucky in that way. And so Polly would like to moderate. Okay, so you're a moderator now, Polly. So one thing that usually happens with this show, and by the way, this show was started, it was requested by my guides, or they kind of gave me the push, was because we needed a respite. We needed a somewhere to kind of breathe and kind of refuel, because of the world we're living in right now, and that it was going to get harder. And so that's why they're like, this would be a good time because it will give people a place to just come together and remind ourselves that there are people like us, and that there are lots and lots of people like us in the world right now. And by us, I just mean people that are kind of awake and aware and want to be good and want to be kind and want to help and have compassion and have empathy and are very loving. And there are lots and lots of us out there. I trust me when I say that. And the majority of people are this. They may be at different stages of enlightenment, but they're running on those same kind of principles that we're all running on. So just know that, okay? And really trying. They're really trying, maybe not always succeeding like all of us, but they're trying. So one thing that kept coming to mind, and where I'd just like to start off, and it's just funny because if you haven't seen my conversations with Christian Sundberg, you look them up. And if you haven't, it's been a long time since you've seen it, look him up, because he was so fun to talk to. Such an authentic, soul. And he he's if you don't know him, he's a person who has pre-birth memories. So he remembers his plan to come to Earth and all that entailed. And one part of his story has been with me all morning. And it's when he is a soul, and he always says, our what we know, the only thing we know until we came to Earth and had these lessons, the only thing we knew was joy and love and freedom. That's what we knew. That's who we are at our core. All of us. Joy, love, freedom, right? And so he's just being joyful and loving and free and being his spirit self. And he runs into a spirit. He comes across a spirit who is magnificent and is different than anything he's ever seen. And he comes up to the spirit and says, how are you this? Like, why are you like this? How did you get like this? What happened? And he says, oh, I've been to Earth. And of course, Christian gets so excited and is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to Earth. I'm going to do Earth. That sounds great. I'm going to be this. And it's something you can do to be this. And so he's like, I want to do that. And the being says to him in his own way, yeah, that's what they all say. And I've been thinking about that and thinking, it's just been coming across my mind all morning. Sorry, Annie Bear, Christian Sundberg, Sunberg, I think it's that. And he has a book too, which is a great book. Very, very deep, but very profound book. It's great. It's one of my go-tos. But I think that is such a great story to illustrate how we all are and how naive we come. And I think this happens every time we come. I think we have the highest of hopes. We're ready to go. It's not going to be that hard this time. It's not going to be that bad this time. And it'll be, I know it's fast and it'll seem bad when when I'm there, but it'll be fine. And it's not that long. It's really nothing in the span of eternity. And I think we do this every time we come. And then we get here and we're like, oh my God, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. We forget what it's like to actually be here. And that's the point, right? Because when we're here, it's completely different. And we forget who we are, and we forget our past lives, and we have no information. And we come here and it is dense and fearful or fear-laden. It can be scary and violent, and people are dying and people are getting hurt and people are getting sick, and there's war and there's famine and there's all these things that it's like, this is not, we come here to experience what we are not. We come here to express who we are as well. And hopefully, I believe the hope always is that we'll meet these challenges and that part of us will push through. And we'll meet these challenges with love, or we'll meet these challenges with joy, or we'll meet these challenges with compassion. That's always the hope. And I just think it doesn't work out that way sometimes. Sometimes we get deeper and deeper and deeper entrenched into a story, or deeper and deeper and deeper entrenched into fear, and we act out. And I think it's really good to remind ourselves of this. Eckhart Tolle, and now you can take a drink. I've said his name. Like I always come back to him. But one thing he's so wise. One thing he says is that the most challenging thing and the best thing that you can do is to not become unconscious yourself, meaning not to get pulled into the drama, remembering that you're a spirit having this experience. And when you're in that frame of mind, you're in a different consciousness. You're in this observer consciousness that kind of keeps you out of the fray. It keeps you out of the denseness of being completely immersed and involved in an experience. it kind of keeps you a little bit, you're just a little bit separated from it. So you have that perspective, and that perspective makes us, it helps us to kind of stay in a higher consciousness, a higher frame of mind, more aligned with our higher self, with our spirit self. However, it's hard. It's hard to stay conscious, and that's part of the game. It's part of the trick, right? You can be like, I meditated this morning. I know I'm a spirit having this experience. And you go to your family's house and you think, oh, I'm just going to love my family and be with them. And then your sibling or somebody says something that triggers you and you think, oh, why are they bringing that up? They always bring that up and they always wanted to, and now I'm going to go home and I'm not going to, and you're pulled back in, right? And that's the dance, right? You're pulled back, you're pulled in, and you come out and you remember and you're pulled in. And that's the place where a lot of us are, right? And these world events pull us in. The stuff with Navalny this week, it was really hard not to become unconscious and get completely enthralled and angry and upset. And then when you pull back, you realize he's okay. And he has fulfilled his soul's purpose. And now it's up to us to take that lesson or those lessons or his legacy and carry on, right? That's the higher perspective. And that also, this will make sense in some way that we don't understand right now. We don't have a full picture yet. We have part of the picture. But in the moment, when it happens, you get sucked right in and you are angry and that's the human part of us. And that part needs to be, honored as well. And it's a dance. It's moving in and pulling out and moving in and pulling. And that's what, just like the breath, right? Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. It's just like that. And that's where a lot of us are. We're shifting. We're in the 4D. We're shifting between the third dimension and the fifth dimension, and we're going back and forth. And so that's what I just wanted to kind of to make you aware of, and to also to keep working on that and to keep doing that, because the more you do it, the easier it will be to notice, oh, I'm getting sucked in again. I need to pull back. I need to look at this a different way, or I need to see this differently or from a higher perspective. It makes life easier. It makes stuff more palpable and more, you can integrate it more easily into your experience, take the lessons and kind of move on from it. And you can do it more quickly. I wanted to, Kathy, I saw your request to be a moderator, and there you are. I am doing that right now. Okay, you have the power. Okay. So, and thank you, Sharon Sipe, for jumping in there. You're always so great to do that. So let's go to your questions, the questions that you have for my guides. If I can answer them, if it's something that I've already answered or that I've gotten in a private reading, I'll go from that. But otherwise, I'll let my guides answer. I'm not a channel, like a channel. I'm more of I guess you'd call it conscious channeling. I'm fully here. I'm fully present. It's going to be me talking and kind of interpreting, doing the best I can to interpret. So let's see. Oh, okay, Gina, such a good question. Again, what should we do if we have lost faith in spirit and no longer believe we are connected? Okay, so that's a great question, and a place that everybody goes. Everybody goes until you reach full enlightenment, or until you are back in the spirit realm. You you enter into that space. So let me. Okay. So what they're saying is that when we go to places like that, the idea is to not fight them, to not think, to make it any worse than it is, or feel any worse than it is, to sit with the feeling and to remind yourself that that it is just it's almost like a trick of the mind, because without the mind, right, we're just consciousness, and we have that complete and full understanding of who and exactly what we are. So remind yourself that it's a trick of the mind, and that's what's happening here. Because that, when we feel like we have lost faith in the spirit, when we feel like we're not connected, nobody's listening to us, nobody's there, that's very fear-based, right? It's just laced with fear, because and you go to those places of fearfulness, and so what they're saying is to not when you go there, to not fight it, but to remind yourself that this is part of having a mind. You go to dark places, and you have periods of being disconnected because you're very mind focused. So they're talking about kind of sitting with it and being with it, and remembering that just like when you feel that full connection, it kind of fades into the background as you start doing your life and getting involved. This will do the same thing, that at some point you will be back into your faith, into your connection. Something will happen. Something will shift you again. You'll have a dream. Because our guides never leave us. They never leave us disconnected. They never leave us hanging, especially if we're trying, and if we're wanting to move into that space of being connected. They're not just going to leave us hanging there. But what happens is we get very entrenched into the mind space, the fear space, oh my gosh, I'm here by myself and I'm disconnected. And you're going into those feelings, and they're an illusion. They're just an illusion. And if you can remember that in those times, and recall that there have been other times you felt like this and it passed, because it is just the mind, and everything that's here and physical it passes. It's temporary. It moves. It goes. It gets old. It changes. So giving that thought to your mind so that you have that. And then also they're talking about moving into that space that's beyond the mind, moving into that space that's just quiet. A great way to do this is, especially when you get into this kind of feeling, is the die before you die meditation. We've talked about it before, where you sit quietly and you strip away everything that you are. You strip away I have no past. My past is gone. My name is gone. I have no name. My family is gone. My this is gone. My that is gone. Finally, my body is gone. But there's something left. There's something there that can't quite be intellectualized, because it has nothing to do with the brain. It has nothing to do with physicality. It can be felt. It can be moved into in a way that is just different than just thinking about something. This stuff that you're talking about, Gina, it's the mind. How do I know that? Because there's fear involved. There's disconnection. There's all the things we aren't, right? And that's what we're here to experience. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I hope that helps, Gina. Okay. And I hope that helps other people that are feeling that way. Okay. So, Kimmy G, I'm going to try to make this into a question that everybody can. Okay. So they're talking about how this is um, this. They want to talk about how this is related to manifesting and also um, getting stuck. Um, so what they want, okay, what they want to say is when it comes to things like this, where it seems like I can't get out of this hole or I can't move beyond this point, there are a few things to consider. Sometimes when we have a lesson that we really, really want to learn or that we've come here to learn, um, losing a job and not being able to find another job or leaving a job and not being able to find another job, there are so many lessons in that, right? There are lessons of having to deal with self-worth and being worthy and self-love and also about time and about feeling desperation and moving into worry. And so it's laced with all of these different kinds of lessons. And what they want people to know is that sometimes when you get stuck in a situation, it's because there is something about this within this situation. There is something there that you were kind of bound and determined to learn this time. And sometimes when you've learned the lesson, it's hard to move on because it's almost like I want to make sure I get it this time, or I want to make sure I I definitely understand this time. And there can be part of us that kind of gets stuck thinking, I don't want to leave this situation until I've learned this. So Kimmy G, what they're talking about is, and then I'm going to move on to the manifesting part of this. But Kimmy G, what they're talking about is going through this whole experience of not being able to work for this period of time, not being able to find what you're looking for this period of time, and list and go through all of the things that you learned, all of the things that you understand now that maybe you didn't understand before. Maybe before you thought, hey, you just need to get a job. And, if you can't, you're not working hard enough. And now, it's not that easy, or maybe I wasn't compassionate. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, looking about how has this changed me? What have I learned? How am I different? And so that's one piece of this, because there may be and that may be what they're pointing to for you, is that there may be this idea of kind of your soul getting stuck on, I have to learn this time. So I'm not going to leave this spot until I'm sure I've learned. And so you're kind of, in a way, you're kind of keeping yourself there, not because you like not having a job, but because on a soul level, there's something you're meant to get and you want to make sure you got it. And so by moving into that, okay, I understand this, I understand this, it may kind of free you up or make you feel like, okay, I can move on now. I've learned, I've gotten everything I can from this, and I'm ready to move on. And even just acknowledging that, like naming it and allowing yourself that freedom to move forward, that could be it. That could just be it, that you're just like, oh, okay, that was easy. Now I've got a job. The other part is the manifesting part. And what happens with that, and I almost hate using the word manifesting for some reason. I almost feel like it's too laden with like material goods and stuff like that, because it's not really about that. It's about you're being a creative being. and that we're always in the mode of creation. We're always in the mode of creating, whether we realize it or not. And so being very aware of maybe how you're talking to yourself now versus before this happened, how you think of yourself now versus before this happened, but being very aware of your thoughts and being very aware of how you talk about it, and how you even project ideas into the future. Project like, oh my gosh, if the next year is like as bad as this is going to be awful. Even doing that, it's like it's kind of moving you into a negative space next year. And they're just saying be open and aware of how you're in creation mode all the time. Also, they're bringing into also, has there been anything positive about this experience? Has there been any good thing about this experience? Not necessarily any good lesson, but anything good about it. During COVID, we did a lot of complaining about all the stuff we couldn't do, but afterwards, and even during, it was like, I have more time to myself. I'm able to be with my kids, or I was at work all the time, and now I'm with my kids every day, and it's amazing. And it was all these like good things that came out of this awful, awful experience. So that's what they're bringing in last is there anything good about this that you notice, or that could be hard to leave or let go of? And that, and knowing that, and even telling yourself, I've had so much time to myself. That has been actually really, really nice. And I promise to myself that when I get my job, I'm going to make time to be, have more time to myself, because I didn't do that before. So it really is kind of an exploration of what this experience has meant, what it means, the negatives, the positives, and also being just really aware of how you're expressing yourself right now, because we're always in a mode of creation. Okay. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps you. And I hope that helps other people going through. We all go through periods like that where we just feel absolutely stuck, like we cannot get out. So, okay, Annie. Okay. Maybe I can't find you, and I don't want to, can I do it from here? Yeah, I can't do it on here. So I will look you up afterwards, and I'll make you a moderator so that you can be that next time. Let me see if I are at the top here. Oh no, there you are. Standard. Okay. Oh, you have the power. You have the force. Okay. And if I skip over your questions, I'm kind of going where I'm being guided. It's kind of like stuff that I feel like, so don't be, don't think your question's not a good one or anything like that. They're kind of going with what people need to hear right now. And I just kind of trust it. So I just kind of go with it. So Melissa, I'm getting a very firm yes. And part of the people, part of our experience when we go to the other side is things we want. So, just in the future, if you know that, my mom and dad were inseparable, I wonder if they met on the other side. Well, of course they did, because if they were inseparable and they loved each other so much and missed each other so much, of course they did. So, you just have to ask yourself, did she love her pets? Were they very important to her? Then the answer is absolutely, positively yes. And our pets are very, they don't, so often they're just right here. They don't leave us, Thank you, Mountain Sunshine. Oh, good, Gina. I'm glad you went. Yeah, she was just saying, Gina was just saying she went back and listened to the interview with Christian. There's a couple. I've talked to him a couple times, and actually, the other one might be in my club. But the first time is there, and it was a couple years ago. So yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. It is, Deborah. It is very confusing. So, um, and the problem is not them, the problem is us. So you'll have times when you just feel like, wow, I'm getting everything. I'm really connected today, or you're just in a really light, good mood, or you're in a light, good place and you sit down to meditate and everything's just there. And there'll be times when it's a little more muddled or a little more hard to understand or hard to, um, you're kind of not sure, you're unsure of yourself. And usually what I say is when you have a session like that, or when you have a question and answer period like that, where you're kind of not sure, just answer with the thank you and just leave it. The other thing to think about too is most people wait. I just wrote about this to somebody. I can't remember who I wrote this about, but um, most people wait until they're in a point of crisis or when something is very, very consequential to start asking their guides questions, or to ask them really, sincerely. They want to know right now. And usually that is the hardest time to answer questions. Not the worst time, but it's just the hardest time because we're emotionally invested, we're emotionally involved, we can have biases. So the best thing to do is to play with your guides um, when you're not in any crisis, when life is quiet, um, or at least when you feel like you can put everything aside and just have a conversation. And then start with yes or no questions. Start with, am I going to, get a call from mom tomorrow? Is it going to rain tomorrow? Things that you can very quickly validate or invalidate. And then get the yes and no down. And once you feel like, okay, I've got that down, I really feel comfortable with that, then start asking more open-ended questions. But what I would just, caution against is doing it when you're in a very emotional place, when you're in a very, scared place, worried place, nervous place. Of course, that's when we want to have those questions answered. But if you haven't started that flow that needs to happen and that trust that needs to build, it's really hard to just lay everything aside and ask the question and know you're going to get an answer you can trust. And also be prepared that sometimes either there's a lesson there, and so it may not quite be clear because there's something you need to experience, or something you want to experience that you forgot. I want to experience this. So you may feel them pull back a little bit or give I've had that happen. You've seen me when I've said like, I feel like there's a wall, or I feel like I'm not getting the full story. And that usually just tells me you don't need to know that right now, or we're protecting you, or there's something in this that you need to experience with everybody else. And so do the people in your chat. So we're going to leave it there. And that's the part of the trust as well that you build, knowing that when they set those boundaries, when they put the brakes on, or when you're not quite getting that there's some kind of reason why. And the more you can move into that trust, the more clear the answers will be, the more obvious they will be. The other thing you can do is to use a tool. If you feel like I'm getting, about 60%, but not, throw in a tool to give you more clarity. I usually say like the dowsing rods or a pendulum that can really help you just validate. Did I get that right? Yes. Did I get that right? No. it can really help to validate right away and just validate what you're getting or what you think you're getting. Cards give you nuance. If the question is, is, Joe Blow going to lose his job, and you want to know why, and you're not getting a clear understanding of why, the cards can help you with that. Please tell me through the cards why this is going to happen. And then you can look through and you can get you get more detail, a more nuanced answer. You can get more understanding. So those are some ideas. And also, with cards, there's all kinds of cards. You don't have to use the traditional tarot deck. You don't have to use the Rider-Waite. You can use a bazillion different kinds of cards. You can use oracle cards. You can use I have cards. You can use whatever resonates with you, whatever speaks to you. If you love animals, look up animal cards. If you love angels, look up angel cards. Go with what resonates with you. You don't just have to learn the tarot deck, And also another thing, and I don't know what I've been told this by my guides, and I don't want to hear from tarot readers who are like, no, you can't do that, because it's just what I've been told, and you do you. But what I have been told, if there are any cards in the tarot deck that disturb you, that you don't like the imagery, you can pull them out. If you don't like the Devil card, pull it out. If you don't like the Tower card, pull it out, because there are other ways to give that information within the tarot deck. That's why, they have like, I know like the Moon card can be like about addiction, and so can the Devil card. So there's other ways to get the information through. It's not just those two cards, but if they're disturbing to you, otherwise you really like the deck and but you're so scared of that card coming up, pull it out. You don't have to make them yours. They're yours. They should resonate with you and your energy and what you, how you work and how you feel. So trust those feelings, right? Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Oh gosh, this is so true. Okay. Barbara, I'm going through this right now. I am going through this right now. And I think a lot of people are. And one reason that I know that my guides have said, and I'm going to ask for more reasons, but one reason for me is that we're in such a, I hate to use the same kind of like verbiage all the time, but the energies right now are so difficult and chaotic that those of us who are sensitive are being, it is like we're being roused awake by different things happening around the world, or different things going on, or different things that are kind of remaining with us through the day. Even if we watched the news earlier in the day and something was upsetting, that still kind of reverberates inside, and it takes a while to integrate it. It takes a while to do that. And so when it's not integrated, it's almost like it's like my guides are showing me like the waves hitting like the ocean wall. It's kind of like it just like it can't go to that flow state where it's just kind of flowing and then you're back where you were. It can't get there. It's kind of like you're hitting a wall. So that's what they're talking about. Let me see if there's other things they want to say about this. Sleep. What can you say about sleep? Okay. They're kind of like, there are so many reasons, like we can't list all the reasons, but they're also talking about that a lot of us are moving to different stages of our spirit development. They're saying too that when you move into kind of more 4D, 5D, when you're pushing into those, that you don't say you don't need as much sleep, but you really don't. You kind of you're in a stage where you're not being drained as much. You're kind of and they're talking about even like not needing as much like eating and certain things that are physical that you just don't need as much of. And so they're like, be aware of that. It's not always a bad thing that's happening. They're also saying, look for promptings when you wake up. Do I feel like I should meditate right now? Do I feel like, because it could be your guides letting you know this is a good time to do this, or this is a good time to think about that book, or this is a good time to ask if you're on your path. Maybe think of things too you've been wanting to know or wanting to understand, and they're waking you, letting you know this is a good time to ask, because maybe energies are more clear, or maybe this is a good time to, in just for you to ask this question or to get these answers. So they're saying too, what are you prompted to do when you wake up? Pay attention to that. And they're highlight. It's like flashing sign. What do you feel prompted to do when you wake up? That gives you a good clue as to why it's happening. And I'm getting chills right now. So that's a big one. Do I feel prompted to get up and go look out the window? Do I feel prompted to get up and spend time with my pets? Do I feel prompted to get up and turn on the TV or turn on the computer? Or am I prompted to sit and meditate, or to ask a question I was asking earlier, or to connect, or maybe a friend comes in that you haven't thought about in a long time. They're trying to connect with you. They'd like to connect with you, and this is a good time. So what are you prompted to do? And that usually comes in a feeling, but also thoughts. All of a sudden you feel like, for some reason, I just feel like making a cup of tea and opening up the window and looking outside. What are you prompted to do? Okay. And what comes to mind? What comes to your feelings? What comes in those promptings, or those urges that you have? What are you urged to do right now? Okay. Please tell us where you can find your friend Chris. I think you mean my sister Chris. Yeah, I will, if you send me an email, Sherry, I will send you her email, and you can get in touch with her. She does private readings still. She's not really active on her channel. But she is definitely still doing readings and stuff. And she just did like a big like psychic fair that was in Salem over Halloween. So she's still, very active reader. So if you want that information, just send me an email. And she gives great readings, really, really good readings. She's a tarot reader. Okay, I'm going to go to this one, and it's I feel like my guides want me to go to this one for some reason. So they're kind of like, this is your attempt to not be surprised, LL. This is your attempt to not be caught off guard, because everything seems like the walls are caving in. And they're saying, the best thing to do when there is a fire is to become water, to become that flexible, flowing, calm, to become that, because you'll move right through it with ease, and you'll even help to kind of diffuse it with that kind of reaction. And it doesn't mean to not care. It means that to not meet it with resistance, or this should not be happening, or what is going on here? Why is this happening? And we all do that because we're human. But as quickly as you can, try to move into, okay, this has happened. Now what? That's always the place you want to get to. I'm getting chills right now. This is why this came up. That's always the place you want to get to, because then you can move forward. Then you can do the thing that you think you want to do, or start the practice you think you want to practice to help. But you need to get to that place that out of that, this should not be happening. This person should not be doing this. It is happening. This event has happened. And now what? Now, what are we going to do? And so, but they're saying like this question is you're being tricky, because it's like I don't want to be surprised and 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 have all of the emotions that come with an awful event or a shocking event. It's too scary, and I don't like it. And we can all relate, LL. But they're saying you're trying to go around it, and the point is to go through it. The point is to be flexible and fluid enough that it can go through you and you don't feel a thing. You're still exactly who you are. You're still exactly the compassionate, loving, feeling, um, joyful spirit that you are. And you've met this moment with compassion for what people are going through, or you've met it through. And then you've come to that the feeling of, okay, this has happened. So now what do we do? And that's that water flowing right through the fire. Now what do we do? And that it changes your energy, it changes your consciousness to get to that point. When you're in resistance, you've seen when two people are yelling at each other, right? Just that bashing. It's not until one person says, you know what, I don't want to fight anymore. What do we do? Let's move. Let's stop this and move on from here, because we're just bashing at each other. And when you resist a situation, or you get into that mode of this should not have happened, this should not be happening. Well, it did. It has happened. And so now what? And you also need to give yourself time. I think this is where we all are with Navalny right now, to give yourself time to integrate this. It's very interesting. I wanted to mention this, and I know this isn't about this question. So LL, I hope that gives you an answer. I know my guys are like, hey, LL, you can't get out of this. You're here to experience stuff, and you're here to be surprised, right? Look, it's interesting because my guys always kind of give us a heads up. They told us we're losing 2 giants this year. And much as because then I thought, because it was so funny, because I played with that, right? And I was like, well, giants are big and scary. So maybe it's scary people, maybe it's mean people, but in my heart of hearts, I knew it was going to be people that we admired, that were younger than the time we thought that they should go. And they would have made this huge impact on the world, right? But they gave us the heads up, right? And it's so that we can have an understanding that, oh, this was foreseen. There's some reason for this. We can have that understanding, that higher understanding, but we can also go through it as a human and have to kind of work through it and have that collective experience, which is so important for us to share in grief, to share in surprise, good or bad. It's part of the experience. And they'll always kind of give us a little bit of a, just so you know, this is going to be happening. But it's, and maybe it's just me being a bad psychic. I don't know. It's never super, super specific. It's not like this is happening on this day, so get ready. And I feel it is just to not rob us of these experiences that are opportunities for growth. They don't want to rob us of that, but they also don't want us to be terrified. And they also don't want us to be, they also want us to know that so much of this is it's in the energy stream where we're going. It's like we're going there. And so it's kind of like a heads up. And with every prediction or with everything like that, you build your trust in me as a reader, but you also build your trust with my guides. That they're gonna give you something to let you know that they're real. They're really real, and they're really telling you stuff. They will sometimes get very specific, and especially at the very beginning when I started doing this, they would say things that would like happen the next day. And I think that was kind of it was almost like a that we all needed to really build our trust with my guides, and really needed very immediate things to build our trust, like I was talking about before, that to do these things you can immediately validate. And I feel like because I was talking to you guys and I was trying to give you um, some comfort and to not be afraid and to know everything's going to be okay, there was this rapid fire kind of all of these things. And I think as we've all changed and kind of known, okay, I believe them, or I trust them, that it had to be built over time. And now we're in a different place with them. And so they're allowing us to have our human experience, but they're also giving us a heads up. Like, remember, this is all in hand. We've got it. We've got this. And you've got this too. And we're with you. And we know that this is happening. So it's an effort to not make us feel like we're just drifting and nobody's there. They are, and very aware of what we're going through and what's happening. But at the same time, it's all okay. It's all okay. It's all going to be okay. Exactly, Laura. We were talking about when we come back to Earth and we're like, it's going to be amazing, and then we get here and we're like, oh my God, yes. If women can remember the pain of childbirth, no one would ever, or one child. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. JK, so I don't know the answer to this, and I'm just going to hand it over to my guides, but I felt like I should answer this. Yeah. It's all the same. It's everything. It's all very much the same things. It's a guiding energy or a guiding force, and we place names on them. I call them guides. I could just as easily call them, say they're angels, or I could say they're, fairies, or I could say I could give them, specific names, David, Joe, and Josh. I could do that as well. It's just language. It's also, tradition and family tradition, religious tradition, that it what you're talking about is a guiding a guiding force, a loving presence, a helping hand. It's all, you could call it many things, but it really is what is there kind of like, you can call it whatever you want. And also, the more like you build the relationship, the more you may feel like you want to change the name, or it's not quite what you thought, or because the feeling has shifted or the relationship has deepened. And so you may feel like, I want to call it something else now. So it really is just the language kind of meeting the feeling, or what what you've grown up with, or what resonates with you. So it's the combination. Okay. Okay. I know, Gina, and let me answer this, okay? Because I want to see what my guides say about this, because we have this all the time, right? So they're talking about that. It I almost feel like we'll try. We're try to give you something here, but it's almost like it may never fully make sense until you're out of this place, because it sounds too it sounds too, it's almost like making light of it, and they don't mean to do that because they know, um, they have been here usually, and usually guides have. Usually they've been here with you, so usually your guides are past life friends, but it's like we know this is not, this is the hardest plane of existence, but understand that in the great scheme of things, we're in one facet of what's happening, one facet. We're in one space of what's happening, and that every single thing that happens on this plane is transmitted or I don't know, transformed into good for the soul, into growth for the soul, into understanding for the soul. So, okay, and they want to go into something else here too. We're talking about right now. Okay, so right now, what you're seeing is, again, I know they don't mean to make light of these things, but they're saying what you're seeing now, just to put it in human terms, is a going out of business sale. So they're saying that a lot of people are here learning that one final big lesson, or that one final very hard, very low energy lesson. A lot, and even people that aren't necessarily here to learn these bigger kind of lower level or lower density or lower vibration or frequency lessons. Even they will dip in and dip out. And I think of the people that are like, yelling at people in stores because they're got their change wrong, or just things that are just like baffling. It's like, what is going on? It's them kind of dipping in and dipping out, because it is like, this is the last go round. That's what it feels like. And they're kind of like, it's like a going out of business sale. Everybody's kind of sticking their hands in, and some people are coming out with both arms filled, because these energies are going to be gone. This is the last go round of this. Now, it may last 10, 20, 30 years, but it's leaving, it's going. And so this is like the last chance to learn these things. They're giving me another really funny, interesting, but I think accurate analogy, which is, think if you went to like a paint gun range, like you're shooting off paint guns, right? And you are there the whole time, and you can't quite get a target, and you can't quite get, you can't, you don't feel comfortable quite shooting it off, and you're not really sure about it. And then it's the last 5 minutes. And all of a sudden you just start shooting off your gun and shooting it everywhere you can think of, because you only have 5 minutes left. And you know that you're not going to be able to do this again for who knows how long, because, you may never get back here, or you can't afford it, or whatever. But it's that idea of, I need to fit this into a small period of time, and it's going to be over the top. So they're letting you know a lot of the situations and the energies here are over the top, and it's because a lot of people are, this is my chance to experience what it's like to be a perpetrator. This is my chance to understand what it's like to be a victim. This is my chance to understand I have avoided war every single lifetime, and this is my chance to experience that, and what kind of soul growth I can learn from that. A lot of us here, this is another thing, Gina, that I wanted to talk about, and I'm so glad this is coming up, because a lot of us here, and this has come out in readings before and over and over and over again, those of us here who don't feel the need to be violent or get involved in really dark things, get involved in, being a drug dealer, or get involved in things. And maybe some people have, like, they've dipped in and dipped out again, like that kind of thing. But those of us who really don't feel like getting into those really heavier, denser, darker energies. And our life circumstances aren't there either. For example, we're not in a war-torn country, or we're not in a place that has like um, famine or things like that. And we feel like, gosh, our life is pretty good, pretty. What usually it is that we have done all that stuff. And now we're in a place where we're wanting to kind of work on the little tiny things, the things, and they're not little things, but they can be pushed aside when you're in those bigger lives of I just need to survive, right? We've already done those kinds of things, those bigger kind of scenarios. And now we're kind of focused in on these few things that we really need to perfect and get right. And it's stuff like relationships, friendships, forgiveness, carrying around burdens, getting rid of shame, getting, all of these, like I said, they're not really little things, but they're more around emotional baggage and emotional connections and things like that, family connections, even like letting go of stuff or being, so look at your life, and it will show you what you're wanting to kind of, what your things are that you want to figure out in this going out of business sale, while you can still move into those very, very low vibrating, very low, dense energies, shame, grief, um, you know, uh, um, depression, what those kind of things that they may not be war and famine, but it's a type of lesson and a type of learning that's happening in our own life. And no lesson is more or less important than the other. They're just different. They're just different, and they're of different frequencies. And like they said, we're kind of in the midst of going out of business sale. So people are trying to learn all of these low, dense, darker lessons that they just never did. And so, and I'm not saying in every single case, but they're saying that's kind of what we're dealing with now and so we're just experiencing a lot of it and a lot of different types of it. So, but it's all going to change too. We're here to, reason you and I are here and we're all here is to keep that shift going up and up and up, so that, yeah, we don't have that anymore. We did it. We're done. We're done with those. We just keep going around and around and around. So that's part of it too. So it's not that a loving God is sitting there saying, well, too bad. It's not that. It's us. We're a reflection of God. We are that. And we're here to, again, meet whatever awful circumstance, whether we're viewing it from afar or we're in it, to meet it with love and compassion, understanding, and giving out that positive energy where we can, positive prayers. And that's why I share the orb videos, is to show you that when you do that, when you meditate, when you pray, when you hold people in your thoughts, you send out love, it changes the energy around you. Something's happening. Something is going on, and you can see it with your own eyes. Okay. Yes, you use the mimosa when I mention Eckhart Tolle, because he always comes up in some way, shape, or form. Okay, I'm going to answer one more, and then I'm going to head off and let you guys enjoy your Sunday. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so James, let's go to this one, because I think this has to do with life purpose and, life purpose. And thank you for those of you who sent in stickers. Let me see. Celtic Crone, thank you. And Gina, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And you never have to donate to get a question answered. You just ask it. If I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, I don't. But you never have to do that. So just, but thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Where do I best serve with the gifts and abilities God gave me? I've been laid off from a 20-year employer. Oh, I'm sorry, James. That is, but sometimes, when we don't want to leave the nest, our guides need to push us out, or something needs to happen that maybe, so, there needs to be a shift or a change, or it's like, okay, James, on to the next thing. You've been here 20 years. It's time to go on to the next thing. As a person, it's painful. It hurts. It feels like you're being kicked out. It feels like you're being rejected, or, all the other feelings that come along with being let go or leaving. And even if you choose to leave, it can be very painful. But you're right to think, okay, well, what's going on here? What should I be doing now? Because clearly it's not this anymore. So what is it? Okay. So, James, they're saying, and this is for everybody, what brings you joy? What do you love? What are you curious about? They're kind of shifted over to that. What are you curious about? What do you want to know about? These can all be clues as to where you should be headed next. When you hit points too where I don't love this anymore, I don't like this anymore, it's usually a good idea to stop and ask yourself, why don't I? Is there something that needs to change in this for me? Or what do I want to do? What is going on? I remember at one point I was in this job that I couldn't stand, and I was really getting very immersed into Eckhart Tolle and Gary Zukav and different and moving. And I had just gotten my meditation certification in meditation and mindfulness, and was just loving it. And I was miserable, and I was just kind of being, miserable Mary. I was just being miserable. And my husband said, well, okay, if money was not an issue, if you didn't have to worry about money or what people thought or anything like that, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do with your time? And without even hesitation, I said, I would do spiritual things. I would work on myself spiritually. I'd help other people work on themselves spiritually. And I'm telling you, James, when I said that out loud, I admitted it to myself, because I wouldn't even admit it to myself that's why I wanted, because I thought that's not possible. What am I even talking about? I don't have a clear idea of what that means or what I'm going to do. Once I said that out loud, something changed. Something shifted. The energy around me was different. And all of a sudden, the universe was trying to make that happen. And in the midst of that, I had to take leaps of faith, and I had to expand myself and go into areas that I needed to really work on things. I had to go into things that I hadn't worked on yet, people I hadn't forgiven, things I hadn't let go of. It was not an easy process, but it was all part of that end. And I started to get these feelings and promptings. Maybe I'll work on forgiveness for a while, and maybe I'll read this book because I keep hearing about it, and it was all again like a dance with the universe, with me, getting me to where I needed to go to have the thing that I wanted, and also the thing that I should be doing and the thing that would be helping other people. And so that's what I would tell you, James. And that's from with what my guide said. What do you love? Where is your joy right now? What are you curious about? And they always say no thing is too small, especially when you're trying to figure it out. Nothing is too small. If you love to watch cat videos, watch cat videos and figure out, why do I love this? Why do I love cats? Maybe I should be working at an animal shelter, or maybe it's I should be researching cats, or maybe it's just the joy they bring. And so I need to bring more joy into my life. Nothing is too little. It's going to tell you something. It's going to give you a clue. So start being awake and aware to that. And that's the other thing, kind of a theme in here. How do I connect with my guides? Where are my guides? I feel like nobody's around me. I feel disconnected. Ask a question and then be alert. Ask for a sign. Ask for a message and then be awake and aware. A lot of times we ask a question or we ask for a sign or a symbol and we forget about it. And we go on about our lives and get immersed in whatever drama is happening. When you ask for a message, a sign, an answer, be alert. Just be alert. Be aware of everything around you that's even physical. When you turn on the radio, when you listen, when Alexa starts talking out of nowhere, when you have, when something keeps popping up on your phone, or you keep hearing about a specific book, or these, every time you open your drawer, this one deck of cards keeps falling out. Watch for the signs. Be alert, be aware, and give it time too, because it may not happen overnight. It may not happen it can happen in the next 5 minutes, but a lot of times it takes a little bit of time. And so give it time also. And it's the trick of being awake and aware for as long as it takes to get the answer, to receive. But the more awake and aware we are, usually it can be pretty fast because we're awake to it. When they have to conk us over the head, it could be a month later or 2 months later. It's like, I forgot all about that, but here's that sign or whatever. But yeah, I really encourage you to try that, to do that. And because they don't want you to stop. They don't want you to be disconnected. They don't want you to feel disconnected because they're right there. Another nice practice is to just lay down and ask your guides to come and surround you. Ask your angels, or your angels and guides, come close to me and cover me, or come close to me and surround me and allow me to feel your energy. And then just lay there and see what you feel and on what level you feel it. Do you feel it? Are you all of a sudden very calm? Do you all of a sudden feel relaxed? Is your mind all of a sudden more quiet? What's happening? What changed after you asked for that? It's a really nice practice. And it also gives you a feeling of, first of all, how subtle the energy of your guides is, but also that if you're quiet enough and if you're still enough, you can feel it. It's always there. It's always there. We are who we are. We are people, and we get lost in all of this, all of the quagmire of life. All right, guys. So thank you so much for hanging out. I didn't get to even a little, even part of these questions, and I really apologize, but I want to thank you guys all for showing up. Go back and listen if you're getting here late and your question may have been answered. People are talking about some of the signs they get. Yeah, LLC, I get feathers. Sometimes they're just physical things, birds. Your your dog, you ask for your comfort and love, and all of a sudden your dog comes over and just sits on your lap for just out of the blue. Recognize it, yeah. Oh, good. I'm so glad, Janice. Yeah, it's been a particularly hard week, real ups and downs, and so yeah, I think that all of the messages here kind of were talking about how that can be so we can really get very caught up in the in all of this stuff going on, and it can be really hard. So well, I hope this helped, and I will be back next week, and I think next week is going to be another question and answer, and then we'll have a couple of guests after that. So yeah, Hilda, I know those white feathers, that's amazing. All right, everybody. Thank you. And thank you for the moderators that jumped in. And thank you all for showing up and for hanging out. And I will see you next time. And everybody take care. All right. Bye.